days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. Looking forward to another great episode. You watched my video about Jauan Jennings potentially getting traded. Now it's time to talk about guys who could fit the bill and replace his role. Of course, it won't be easy. Jauan Jennings is the best blocking wide receiver on the entire team and one of the best in the entire league. So why would you trade him? Well, if you go back and watch the video, I go through it. It's about compensation. It's about getting something back for Jauan Jennings without him just leaving with you getting nothing. So this could be an opportunity for the 49ers to trade Jauan Jennings. But even if they don't, it's still time to start drafting ahead. When you look at how the 49ers have went about handling wide receivers in the past, they draft wide receivers a lot. It's one of the positions they address the most, that and cornerback and defensive line. But they want to bring in guys a year early. In 2020, Kendrick Bourne was a restricted free agent. The 49ers brought in Jauan Jennings to potentially fill that role of a slot receiver who could move the sticks on third down. Added bonus, Jauan Jennings was a superior blocker to Kendrick Bourne. But now we're getting to the point where Jauan Jennings is in the Kendrick Bourne role. Next year, he'll be a restricted free agent. So the 49ers got to start thinking about potentially bringing someone in. If they could afford Jauan Jennings, I would say this is a little bit of a year ahead. It'd be a little premature, but they can't afford it. They're going to give Brandon Ayuk a fifth-year option that's over $14 million. Deebo Samuel is going to make over $20 million next year. So there's just a lot of money being spent on wide receivers. So how do you go about replacing a player that might be irreplaceable like Jauan Jennings? You have to find someone with a skill set that you like. And there are guys in this draft who are big physical wide receivers, and the 49ers have met with a bunch of them. And I'm going to go through a few of the guys who the 49ers could potentially draft to take Jauan Jennings' place, whether he's traded during the draft or not. If he's traded, of course, one of these players will be expected to step up soon. If not, then they're going to be potentially, getting some snaps in the next year, taking over that role as Jauan Jennings translates out. So who's on the list? Well, first off, it has to start with Jonathan Mingo, one of my favorite wide receivers in the entire draft. He is absolutely fantastic. The way he transitions from receiver to runner when he catches the football is one of the best in the entire draft. He really is spectacular, and he's been climbing up boards. It was just a couple of months ago where I made him a star player that I really enjoyed him a lot. And back then he was considered a late 4, early 5. Now, Mel Kiper and Todd McShay have said he could go as early as late second round. That means Jonathan Mingo's climbing board. So the 49ers would probably have to institute some sort of a trade to get to him unless he falls, and there's always a potential. Most mock drafts have Jonathan Mingo going in that late 3, early 4 range, which, that's great for the 49ers because they have 3 picks there. Jonathan Mingo, 6'2", 220 pounds, plays with a really, really big physicality. The difference between him and Jauan Jennings is going to be in the speed category. Jennings, of course, 6'3", but he ran a 4.7. It was very disappointing coming out of Tennessee, a 4.7 40. So Jonathan Mingo's got the speed on him for sure when it comes to that category. But what are the things about Jonathan Mingo to really like? Well, the fact that he had over 800 yards receiving on 48 catches, which means 16.8 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns on the season, and that was playing at Ole Miss. So he was getting it done in a big way. And he's an exciting player that fits exactly what the 49ers want. If you have me on Patreon, you saw the star player report on Jonathan Mingo, going over film, breaking down about 10 to 15 minutes, just Jonathan Mingo. He's a very, very spectacular player who would fit perfectly within the 49ers scheme. So I do think he's an option for the 49ers and could definitely fit the slot role that Jauan Jennings has been playing. You would get an upgrade as far as receiver, and I'm talking about speed-wise, but Mingo does translate the same way Jennings does as far as catch and run ability. He has that. He just has more speed. And then Mingo is also a good blocker, which is good news for the 49ers because you have to be able to block, and that's one role that Jennings has handled in an absolutely huge way. So Jonathan Mingo could definitely be a guy they draft, and he could probably produce in year one. You wouldn't have to wait for year 2 for him to get out on the field and make some plays for your team. So if you did trade Jauan Jennings, you're ready to go. If you don't trade Jauan Jennings, then you have Mingo, and you have another big body that you could use for the 2023 season. Next up is going to be Michael Wilson out of Stanford, and Michael Wilson's a very fun player. 6'2", 213 pounds. So you see where I'm going here. Players that are big like Jennings. Now, once again, another guy a little bit faster, a 4.5. It was not exactly as fast as he looked on film, but he's the guy that made some plays last year. 26 catches for 418 yards, 4 touchdowns, over 16 yards per catch, which is not, too crazy when you're considering college football and the way it is. But Michael Wilson, he's got some real ability about him. And he's a guy that, just like with Jonathan Mingo, their 3-cone is good, so we know Kyle Shanahan's going to like him. But he's a very experienced guy. He was a 5th-year senior out of Stanford, very intelligent. We know the 49ers love the intelligence, and he was a 3-time Pac-12 All-Academic Honor Roll, 19, 20, and 21. So he's got the size and speed that you're looking for to fill that slot role. That's exactly what they're looking for out of that big slot. They transitioned from Bourne to Jennings, so they would like a guy that can do that. And he's definitely one of those guys that can make it happen. He's a guy that doesn't fear contact over the middle of the field. So another guy that fits that Jennings role is a good run blocker. And so when you get him out on the edge, he makes a lot of plays. He can play in the slot, and he can play on the outside, which would be a little bit more ability than Jennings. You don't see that a lot from Jauan. So these two guys, Mingo and Wilson, are guys who definitely fit what the 49ers do. They catch the ball. They can play in the slot. They have the ability to play on the outside, which is better than Jennings. Jennings was a 7th-round pick, but he's kind of more built to play within the slot. He's a very good power slot, a red zone threat. So you're going to have to look for guys who can make those plays, inside the red zone. So I think that Michael Wilson's another guy. I like him. His willingness to go over the middle, the way he blocks, are definitely going to be huge additions that the 49ers, could use within their offense. And, the fact that he runs really good routes as well, that's one of the things that Jauan Jennings does so good, is Jennings has a natural way to be able to create separation, even though he's not the fastest or the quickest. It's just he's got his own way to do it. So it's really nice to see players like Mingo and like Wilson that can create separation because of good route running. You throw in the fact that Michael Wilson can add on special teams. He makes a lot of sense for the 49ers in year 1. Being able to play gunner on special teams will be huge, and we know that's exactly what he wants. Now, you throw in the fact that he's got upper body strength at a high level. Very, very good. This guy just fits what the 49ers do. Michael Wilson, Jonathan Mingo, anywhere in that 99 to 102 range would make a lot of sense for the San Francisco 49ers. And I think they would be absolutely impactful. Now, let's go to a guy that would be a little bit farther down the list, but a guy that makes sense for the 49ers because of frame, size, and this is one of those things where maybe you don't get a Mingo and you're not able to lock onto a Michael Wilson. Those guys are gone. Well, here's Jared Wayne out of Pitt. It's a guy that I've really come accustomed to liking, and he's 6'3", 208 pounds. Sounds a lot like Jennings, right? Jennings probably has about 5 pounds on him. Both guys ran a 4.7 in the 40-yard dash. So you're not getting an increase in speed when you're talking about Jared Wayne, but he had a really good year at Pitt. Yeah, he played 11 games, had 55 catches for over 1,000 yards. That's 18 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. And when he's targeted by his quarterback, the quarterback rating is 126.6. He's just a guy you feel comfortable catching the ball. And then he's just one of those guys that when he makes catches over the middle, he's completely competitive. He goes after it. He runs through people. He runs people over. He wants to make sure he gets first downs. Sounds very Jennings-like. So as you can see, these 3 guys that we're talking about are guys that like to go over the middle and can make things happen. He transitions from being a receiver to running the ball really quickly. When he catches the ball, he does a great job. He has good quickness off the line of scrimmage. So the slowness is more in the vertical threat area. He's able to, be able to disengage with defenders and create openings and separation at the top of his stem. He does a very good job. He looks really, really good all the time. That's what I really like about him. Now, is he going to run everyone, run away from anyone or everyone? No, he's not. That's not what he's about. He's not Mingo. Mingo has a 4.46 speed. He can score on big-time plays. Michael Wilson has enough speed to make that happen. You're not going to get that out of Jared Wayne, but you're not really getting that out of Jauan Jennings. So this is kind of one of those exact fit type things. The same things that you talk about Jennings as far as being a savvy route runner, you talk about that with Wayne as well. So I like him a lot. I think he is a solid fit for the 49ers. You throw in the fact that he's an excellent blocker that can help with the run game, and you have 3 legitimate options for the San Francisco 49ers to eventually replace Jauan Jennings, no matter when that is. If that's 2023, 2024, whatever it ends up being. The 49ers need guys that fit that category. They've been looking for the power slot role, and as you know, you can't pay everyone. So as Jauan Jennings transitions out, you transition someone in, and Jared Wayne would make a lot of sense. So what do you guys think about the guys that we talked about? Jonathan Mingo. I know a lot of people are huge fans of Mingo and his ability and the way that he's really able to create for the, on the field. He's got that dynamic ability to catch a ball over the middle and take it to the house. Do you like Jonathan Mingo? Is he a guy that you're definitely in on? I've seen people say that they would draft Mingo, early. A lot of people would trade up for Jonathan Mingo. I would be one of those guys who definitely drafted him from 99 to 102. I think he's an impact player that can make a huge difference, and I do think he would end up being an upgrade over Jauan Jennings if you put him out there with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. I think that would be the most dynamic 3 receivers the 49ers have had in the Kyle Shanahan regime. I think he would be spectacular. Are you a Michael Wilson guy, a guy that can definitely create, make plays, and do the things that he needs to do? I like him as well. I like his ability to play on the outside the same way I do Mingo, which gives you an added dimension that's beyond. That way, if Brandon Ayuk's out of the game, you can still have Jonathan Mingo or Michael Wilson on the outside playing that X receiver role. I think that's also something the 49ers could be looking into. You throw in the fact they've got that bigger body, 6'1", 6'2", the added weight to be able to take on defenders, be able to get extra yards. I think it's something that I like. And these guys are about savvy route running. Do you like him? Or maybe you like, waiting and getting someone later in the draft, late 5, early 6, in Jared Wayne, maybe even longer than that. I think he's a possibility. That 4.7 speed's probably going to scare a lot of people, but as you can see, it does not scare the 49ers. And when you get an aggressive style that welcomes contact and goes seeking in the blocking game, you have to be excited about the player. He plays like there's a chip on his shoulder, and I love that about him. So I think these 3 guys are 3 options. Of course, there's probably other ones as well. Let me know who those guys are. I really want to hear from you. Let me know who you would replace Jauan Jennings with, and we'll see. I'll get into those guys as well. But the draft is rapidly approaching, and the 49ers are going to have to make some decisions on their roster. They're going to be bringing some very talented players in to build this 53-man roster. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what the 49ers are doing with their wide receivers, and there's definitely room for talent in the wide receiver position. Thank you guys so much for watching the episode. Looking forward to even more draft content coming your way. Like the video if you can. I really appreciate that. It helps me out a lot. Give the channel a subscription, and that way you'll get notified every time we do something on the channel. Also, make sure you join me on Friday live stream of rounds 2 and 3. We're going to be breaking it all down as it happens. And also on day 3, rounds 4 through 7, the entire marathon. Come on in, enjoy. We're going to have a lot of fun. Last year was an absolute blast. Really, really excited about it. So thank you guys all for coming through. Really enjoyed the show. Looking forward to more interaction with you. Until next time, stay safe and remember the right way is always the 49ers way.